A guy walks into a bar. He asks the bartender, "You guys have any helicopter-flavored potato chips?" Bartender says, "No, we only have plain." Someone asked me recently what separates a good movie from a bad one. And while I think they were really asking about my taste, like how I tell if I personally like a movie or not, I got stuck thinking about bad movies, and it sent me down a rabbit hole. In my mind, anything can make a movie bad. Bad acting, corny dialogue, a nonsense storyline, obnoxious camera moves. But in thinking about this, I realized that I just hate ragging on bad movies. It feels like bullying. Sure, some of them are unforgivably terrible, but a lot of them are just big swings that missed their mark. And some are that special kind of bad where they're actually really fun to watch. For me, the more interesting question is, what separates a good movie from a mediocre one? And I think I found my answer right here. Yes, this is No Country for Old Men, and yes, this movie has been analyzed to death, but I promise I won't be talking about the cinematography or the acting. I'm only here to talk about one thing: setups and punchlines. A horse walks into a bar. Bartender gets startled, goes, "Hey!" Horse says, "You read my mind, buddy." Movies have their own language, their own way of communicating. You can use a shot, a cut, a sound, an action, or a line of dialogue. Dialogue is itself a language. We use it every day, which makes it the easiest filmmaking tool to use and the easiest to notice. So when you do it poorly, this happens.
This is Katana. She's got my back. She can cut all you in half with one sword stroke, just like mowing the lawn.
In this kind of scene, all of the tools that make movies special are totally wasted. You can do the same amount of storytelling with something like this. In my mind, the biggest difference between a good movie and a mediocre one is how well it uses the language of movies, the shots, cuts, sound, and action, and the instrument of that language, the movie camera. So if I want to learn how to make a good movie, I have to learn a new language. So I decided to give myself the kind of assignment you might get in film school and go out and make a short film. The assignment was to practice using setups and punchlines. Setups and punchlines are a storytelling tool where you give the audience some piece of information that may seem inconsequential, but later that information becomes the setup that they needed to understand the punchline. Which brings us back to No Country for Old Men. In this movie, the Coen brothers, following Cormac McCarthy's novel, set up the fact that Anton Chigurh is a psychopathic assassin who likes to keep his boots clean. In this scene, he's preparing to bust into a motel room to kill a bunch of guys, and he practices entering the room to see how fast he can get the light on. He checks for potential hiding spots, and he takes off his boots. The Coen's camera lingers on this detail, showing him walk to the room in his socks and even showing him, after all the killing is done, remove those socks that are now covered in blood. But one piece of setup isn't enough to really understand it, so to drive it home later in the movie, after he kills Woody Harrelson's character, the Coens cut to a close-up of a pool of blood oozing across the floor, and then they show Chigurh kick his boots up so he doesn't get blood on them. So why do we care? Why does it matter that this psychopath is a little particular about his footwear? Because at the end of the movie, they deliver the punchline. Basically, the whole movie, Anton has acted like death incarnate. He's not a human being murdering other human beings, he's a ghost.
Do you see me?
He's the Grim Reaper, fulfilling something that's already been decided by fate or by chance.
Call it.
But when he gets here, Carla Jean refuses to accept that.
The Coen don't have no say. It's just you.
This is a pivotal moment, but the camera doesn't show what happens here, whether he kills her or lets her live. Instead, the Coens move the camera outside and give us just a subtle hint as to what happened. Anton exits the house and checks his boots. Brutal. A man walks into a bar. He's got a slab of asphalt under one arm. He says to the bartender, "One for me, and one for the road." The modern idea of setups and punchlines comes from an old idea called Chekhov's gun, which says that if you show the audience that a character has a gun in Act 1,
This pub's called the Winchester.
the gun has to go off by the end.
I fucking knew it!
But if you go online and look up examples of setups and punchlines in film, you'll only get the ones that are pivotal to the plot of the movie. The big, satisfying payoffs. Horror movies are great at these.
You screw around with these tanks and they're gonna blow up!
Smile, you son of a bitch!
Well, I can drive that loader. Where you want it? Get away from her, you bitch!
Yet the more I think about it, setups and punchlines don't have to be huge story beats at all. They can be strictly informational. Like showing a character leave the car door open so when he comes back and finds it closed, the audience knows that someone has been there. They can be comedic, a literal punchline, giving some information to the audience but not to another character in order to land a joke. They can also be strictly visual, like showing a character's reflection doesn't measure up because he's not ready, and then later, when he is ready, his reflection is right at eye level. To me, setups and punchlines are more of a storytelling philosophy rather than a method for grand climactic payoffs. It's what Chekhov's gun really means, which is that stories should contain no unnecessary information. Every shot is an opportunity to convey some kind of meaning, no matter how small. Every movie is doing setups and punchlines left and right, something as simple as setting up that a character is a regular patron of an establishment. All movies have to do something like this. Some do it poorly,
Hi, doggy. You're my favorite customer. Thanks a lot. Bye.
and some do it well.
Sandwiches too. Sure. Put on my tab.
You have a plan on paying your tab?
Yeah, Chief. Got the winning lottery ticket right here.
And if I'm going to do it well myself, I have to learn how to do it using the language of film. The shot, the cut, the sound, and the action. When I set out to make my first short film, the goal was to make a suspensey thriller where the climax would be this shot. The character is showering, there's a motion-activated light outside, and when the light comes on, it means that someone is out there, presumably trying to harm him. But really, it's just a shot of some shampoo bottles, so I'm gonna have to do a lot of setup for this to feel scary. First, I have to dial up the paranoia. What's that noise? Was that the wind? Is someone out there? Next, I have to establish that there's a security light outside. Okay, have the character walk by and show the light coming on. Then I have to establish that the light is shining on this window, and I should probably drive home that the security light is important, so have the character walk by again, and this time be sure to prominently show the window, maybe even linger on it a bit. And lastly, the audience has to know where this window leads. So the character goes into the bathroom, and we cut outside to the same shot as before and hear him turn on the shower. All of that worked just so that this shot not only feels suspenseful, but makes any sense at all. The biggest challenge of this assignment for me was doing all of this setup with only sound and image, no dialogue involved. I honestly don't think my short is particularly good, but I did learn a ton about visual storytelling in the process of making it, which is a step in the right direction because in order to make a good movie, you can't just tell a story, you have to tell it in a way that only a movie can. So if you're making a film and there's a moment in it that you want to mean something, whether informational, comedic, or emotional, tell the audience the context, the premise, the setup that they need to understand the punchline. And if you can, tell them with the camera. A dyslexic man walks into a bra. Thanks for coming to Movie Practice, my own personal homeschool film school. Every new chapter, I give myself an assignment, I go out and make a short film, I critique my own work, and I make a video essay on the subject I've been exploring. If that interests you at all, please subscribe to my channel, follow along. I'll be posting all of my movie practice progress and anything else I might be inspired to make along the way. So, see you in class.